Chosen one, listen closely, because this message is for the part of you that has been wondering why your heart has had to wait so long. You have watched people around you enter relationships, build families, and experience the companionship you quietly prayed for, while you wondered when your own season would arrive. But your waiting has not been wasted. God has been preparing you, protecting you, and separating you from what could never carry the weight of your destiny. Your singleness is not proof that you were forgotten. It may be evidence that you were being preserved for something greater than what you could see. Chosen one. There were moments when you thought your life was standing still, but heaven was moving behind the scenes. You called it loneliness, but God may have called it preparation. You called it rejection, but God may have called it protection. You called it delay, but God may have called it divine timing. And sometimes the hardest thing to accept is that what you desperately wanted was not necessarily what you truly needed. You may have asked God, "Why am I still alone?" You may have cried in private, smiled in public, and told everyone that you were fine when deep inside you were tired of waiting. You saw couples holding hands, people getting engaged, friends announcing weddings, and perhaps something inside you whispered, "When will it be my turn?" But chosen one, do not measure the timing of your life against the timeline of someone else's life. God does not need your life to look like anybody else's life in order for your story to be beautiful. There is a reason you could not keep certain people. There is a reason some relationships ended even when you wanted them to continue. There is a reason some people disappeared without giving you the closure you thought you needed. There is a reason doors closed that you begged God to leave open. You may not understand every reason today, but one day you may look back and realize that some of your greatest heartbreaks were actually divine redirections. You thought you were losing someone. God knew you were losing a distraction. You thought you were being rejected. God knew you were being redirected. You thought somebody was leaving your life too soon. God knew they had already overstayed their purpose. And chosen one, there is something you need to understand about your waiting season. God will sometimes allow you to experience solitude because He wants you to learn how to stand without leaning on the wrong person. Because if you do not know who you are when you are alone, you can become desperate for anyone who makes you feel wanted. And desperation can make you call something love simply because it gives you attention. It can make you tolerate disrespect because you are afraid of being alone again. It can make you ignore warning signs because you are afraid that this might be your last chance. But God does not want you to settle because you are tired of waiting. He does not want you to trade peace for companionship. He does not want you to abandon your standards simply because loneliness has become uncomfortable. Chosen one, your loneliness is not greater than your purpose. There are seasons when God removes people because their presence is interfering with your becoming. You may not realize how much energy you were spending trying to maintain connections that were never designed to last. You were explaining yourself to people who had already decided to misunderstand you. You were chasing people who were comfortable watching you chase them. You were trying to convince someone to recognize your value while God was trying to teach you that your value does not require anyone's approval. So He let the connection break. He let the conversation stop. He let the relationship end. He let the silence become permanent. And you cried because you thought God had abandoned you. But perhaps God was answering a prayer you had forgotten you prayed. You once asked Him for peace. You once asked Him to remove what was not for you. You once asked Him to give you discernment. And sometimes discernment comes through disappointment. Sometimes protection looks like heartbreak. Sometimes answered prayer looks like somebody you wanted walking away. That is why you cannot judge God's goodness by how comfortable the process feels. Chosen one, God may be keeping you single because He is not merely preparing you to meet someone. He is preparing you to recognize someone. There is a difference. When you have healed, you recognize what is healthy. When you have matured, you recognize what is genuine. When you have learned your worth, you stop being impressed by temporary attention. When you have developed discernment, you stop confusing chemistry with character. When you have learned peace, you stop calling chaos passion. And when you have learned patience, you stop demanding that every door open immediately. Your future relationship cannot simply be someone who makes you feel something. It must be someone whose character can carry the responsibility of loving you well. Because attraction can begin a relationship, but character is what sustains it. Words can impress you for a moment, but consistency reveals the truth. Promises can sound beautiful, but actions eventually expose what words were hiding. And perhaps God has kept you single because He knows that the person coming into your life must meet a version of you that no longer accepts crumbs. You are becoming someone who understands that love is not begging. Love is not manipulation. Love is not emotional confusion. Love is not constantly wondering where you stand. Love is not having to earn basic respect. Love is not walking on eggshells. Love is not abandoning yourself to keep somebody else. Chosen one, you have learned too much to go backward. You have survived too much to settle. You have cried too many tears to give your heart to somebody who only wants access to your attention. You have spent too much time rebuilding yourself to allow someone careless to destroy what God helped you restore. So if the waiting season feels long, remember this: a long wait does not mean a wrong promise. It means timing matters. There are things that cannot be rushed without being damaged. A seed cannot be forced to become a tree overnight. A foundation cannot be built properly in a few minutes. Character cannot be developed instantly. Wisdom cannot be downloaded without experience. And sometimes the relationship you are praying for requires a version of you that you have not yet become. Perhaps God is preparing your heart. Perhaps He is preparing the other person's heart. Perhaps circumstances are being arranged that you cannot see. Perhaps two separate journeys are happening at the same time, and one day those paths will intersect at exactly the right moment. You do not need to know every detail. You need to trust the one who does. Chosen one, stop assuming that because you cannot see movement, nothing is happening. Roots grow in darkness. Foundations are built beneath the surface. The deepest work often happens where nobody is watching, and perhaps that is what God has been doing with you. While everyone else saw your solitude, God saw your preparation. While everyone else saw your unanswered questions, God saw your development. While everyone else saw you alone, God saw you becoming stronger. You have learned how to enjoy your own company. You have learned how to walk away. You have learned how to say no. You have learned that attention is not the same thing as affection. You have learned that being desired is not the same thing as being valued. You have learned that someone can want you and still not be good for you. Those lessons are priceless. And one day, when the right person enters your life, you will understand why the wrong ones had to leave. You will understand why certain doors remained closed. You will understand why certain prayers seemed unanswered. You will understand why God would not allow you to force what He had not ordained. Because, chosen one, there is a difference between getting what you want and receiving what is right for you. You can get what you want and still lose your peace. You can get what you want and still lose yourself. You can get what you want and still become further away from God. So do not ask only, when will I receive what I desire? Ask, what is God protecting me from while I wait? Ask, what is God developing inside me? Ask, what kind of person do I need to become so that when the right relationship arrives, I can nurture it instead of sabotaging it? Those are powerful questions, because your waiting season is not merely about who is coming. It is about who you are becoming. Chosen one, your future relationship should not become your identity. You are not incomplete because you are single. You are not behind because you are unmarried. You are not less valuable because nobody has chosen you yet. You were valuable before somebody noticed you. You were worthy before somebody pursued you. You were complete before somebody held your hand. And you will remain valuable whether a relationship arrives tomorrow or later than you expected. That truth matters because the healthiest love does not come from two people desperately trying to complete each other. It comes from two people who understand their identity and choose to walk together. You should not need another human being to prove that your life has meaning. Your purpose existed before the relationship. Your calling existed before the relationship. Your dreams existed before the relationship. Your relationship should complement your life, not replace it. So build, grow, learn, create, surpray, travel if you can, develop your gifts, take care of your responsibilities, become emotionally mature, become financially wise, strengthen your character, deepen your relationship with God. Do not put your entire life on pause while waiting for somebody to arrive. Your life is happening now. And perhaps that is one of the greatest lessons God wants you to learn. Do not postpone joy. Do not postpone gratitude. Do not postpone purpose. Do not postpone becoming the person you were created to become. There is a temptation during singleness to think, when I meet someone, then I will finally be happy. But chosen one, happiness cannot permanently depend on another person's presence. Because people change, circumstances change, seasons change. But the peace you build within yourself can become an anchor. You need to be able to say, God, even if I am waiting, I will still worship. Even if I am lonely, I will still grow. Even if I do not understand, I will still trust. Even if I cannot see the future, I will still walk forward. That is strength. That is maturity. That is faith. And perhaps your season of singleness has been developing exactly that kind of strength. You have discovered things about yourself that you never would have discovered if you had stayed attached to the wrong person. You learned your patterns. You confronted your insecurities. You recognized what you tolerated. You discovered what you truly want. You learned what you will never accept again. And that knowledge will protect you. Because when the right person appears, you will not be so easily distracted by charm. You will look for integrity. You will notice consistency. You will pay attention to how they treat people who cannot benefit them. You will observe how they handle disappointment. You will notice whether their words match their actions. You will watch whether they respect your boundaries. You will notice whether they bring you closer to peace or constantly pull you into confusion. That is maturity. And maybe God has been teaching you to look beyond appearance, because somebody can look good and still be wrong for you. Somebody can speak beautifully and still lack character. Somebody can make you feel butterflies and still bring storms into your life. Somebody can pursue you intensely and still have no intention of building anything lasting. So do not be impressed merely because someone finally shows interest. Ask whether their interest comes with responsibility. Ask whether their love comes with consistency. Ask whether their presence produces peace. Chosen one, you are not waiting for just anybody. You are waiting for what is healthy, aligned, and worthy of the person you are becoming. And that means your standards may need to remain high, not unrealistic, not perfectionistic, but healthy. Do not demand perfection from another person while refusing to work on yourself, but do not accept dysfunction simply because you are afraid of being alone. There is a beautiful middle ground where you understand that everyone has flaws, yet you still require honesty, respect, emotional responsibility, and genuine commitment. That is where wisdom lives, and when your time comes, you will not have to force it. You will not have to chase it. You will not have to manipulate it. You will not have to become someone you are not. You will not have to perform for love. The right connection will not require you to destroy yourself to maintain it. Chosen one, your time is coming. But do not turn that statement into an excuse to stop living today. Let it become a reason to prepare. Prepare your heart. Prepare your mind. Prepare your life. Prepare your boundaries. Prepare your ability to communicate. Prepare your ability to receive love without constantly expecting abandonment. Because sometimes people pray for healthy love while still carrying unhealthy expectations from old wounds. They receive something good and become suspicious of it. They receive consistency and wonder when the person will leave. They receive affection and assume there must be a hidden motive. They receive peace and become uncomfortable because chaos is what they have known. So perhaps God is teaching you not only how to identify healthy love, but how to receive it. That is another part of preparation. You cannot spend years surviving and then expect yourself to instantly know how to thrive with someone. Healing takes time. Learning takes time. Trust takes time. And God is not in a hurry simply because you are. Chosen one, do not let your impatience become an idol. Do not make marriage or romance the center of your prayers. Ask God for wisdom more than you ask for a relationship. Ask for character more than you ask for companionship. Ask for discernment more than you ask for attention. Ask for peace more than you ask for a person. Because when you have wisdom, you can recognize what is right. When you have discernment, you can recognize what is wrong. When you have peace, you do not need to chase chaos. And when you have character, you can build something meaningful when the opportunity arrives. Perhaps the greatest miracle is not simply that someone comes. Perhaps the miracle is that you have become someone capable of sustaining what you once prayed for. That is why your waiting season matters. It is not empty. It is not meaningless. It is not wasted. Every lesson matters. Every tear matters. Every boundary matters. Every moment you chose not to return to what hurt you matters. Every time you walked away instead of begging someone to stay matters. Every time you chose peace over temporary attention matters. Every time you trusted God instead of forcing an outcome matters. You are building a future you cannot yet see. And chosen one day you may look back at this exact season and say, "No, I understand." You will understand why certain people could not stay. You will understand why certain relationships failed. You will understand why your timeline looked different. You will understand why God allowed you to walk alone for a while. Not because you were unwanted, not because you were forgotten, not because you were defective, but because your story was never supposed to be dictated by comparison. Your journey has its own timing. Your life has its own rhythm. Your purpose has its own requirements. And your relationship, if and when it comes, must fit into the life God is building, not become the substitute for it. So breathe. Stop rushing. Stop comparing. Stop asking whether you are behind. You are not behind. You are becoming. And there is a difference. The person you are becoming may be stronger than the person who would have accepted the wrong relationship 5 years ago. The person you are becoming may recognize manipulation where you once saw affection. The person you are becoming may walk away from disrespect that you once tolerated. The person you are becoming may finally understand that being alone is better than being connected to someone who constantly makes you feel alone. That is growth. That is freedom. That is preparation. And perhaps when the right person arrives, you will not feel the desperate urgency you once felt. You will feel peace. You will not be asking, "How do I make this person stay?" You will be asking, "Does this relationship honor God, honor both of us, and produce healthy fruit?" That is a completely different mindset. Chosen one, do not allow the length of your waiting to convince you that your future has been canceled. A delay is not necessarily a denial. A closed door is not necessarily punishment. A quiet season is not necessarily abandonment. Sometimes silence is where your roots grow deepest. Sometimes hidden seasons prepare you for visible seasons. Sometimes God takes you away from the crowd, so you can hear what you could not hear while surrounded by noise. And maybe that is why this season has been so quiet. Maybe you needed to hear yourself again. Maybe you needed to hear God again. Maybe you needed to discover what you actually wanted instead of continuing to chase what society told you to want. Maybe you needed to learn that your worth is not determined by relationship status. Maybe you needed to become comfortable enough with yourself that you would never again choose someone simply because they were available. That lesson alone can change your entire future. Because chosen one, availability is not compatibility. Attention is not commitment. Chemistry is not character. And loneliness is not a reason to settle. Remember that. When the next opportunity comes, remember what you learned. Do not abandon your wisdom because somebody knows how to say the right words. Do not ignore your intuition because you are afraid of losing another opportunity. Do not sacrifice your peace to prove that you are capable of loving someone. Real love should not require you to abandon yourself. And when something healthy finally enters your life, allow yourself to receive it. Do not sabotage it because you are afraid that happiness will disappear. Do not punish a new person for what an old person did. Do not make somebody innocent pay for somebody else's betrayal. Heal enough to recognize the difference. And if you are still healing, be honest about it. There is no shame in admitting that you need time. There is no shame in moving slowly. There is no shame in asking questions. There is no shame in protecting your heart while still keeping it open. You can be hopeful without being desperate. You can be cautious without being closed. You can desire love without making love your entire identity. That balance is powerful. And chosen one, perhaps your next season will require that balance. Because when your time comes, it may arrive differently than you imagine. It may not look like a dramatic movie scene. It may begin quietly, a conversation, a friendship, a simple introduction, a connection that grows naturally, a person whose consistency slowly earns your trust. And you may realize that the greatest relationships are not always the loudest at the beginning. Sometimes the healthiest love feels surprisingly peaceful. There is no endless guessing, no emotional roller coaster, no constant uncertainty, no need to chase, no need to prove. Just two people choosing each other with honesty, patience, and intention. And when that happens, you may finally understand why God would not let you settle for less. You may finally understand why your prayers were not answered in the way you expected. You may finally understand why the person you thought was the one had to leave. You may finally understand why your season of waiting lasted as long as it did, because God was not simply preparing a relationship. He was preparing you for a relationship that could survive beyond the excitement of the beginning. So chosen one, keep your heart soft. Keep your standards strong. Keep your faith alive. Keep growing. Keep becoming. Keep trusting. Your story is not over because you are single. This chapter is not the whole book, and the empty space you see today may become the place where something beautiful is written tomorrow. Do not rush the author. Do not tear out the pages because you dislike the current chapter. Do not decide that the story is finished simply because you cannot yet see the ending. There are chapters you have not read. There are doors you have not reached. There are people you have not met. There are experiences you have not lived. There are prayers you have not yet seen answered. And there is still so much life ahead of you. So walk forward with confidence, not because you know exactly when your time will come, but because you trust that your life is not meaningless while you wait. If love comes soon, receive it wisely. If it takes longer, keep living fully. If a door opens, use discernment. If a door closes, do not chase it blindly. And if someone leaves, remember that their departure does not determine your worth. You are still chosen. You are still valuable. You are still growing. You are still becoming. And perhaps the greatest preparation is happening right now, in the quiet place where nobody can applaud you, where nobody can validate you, where nobody can tell you that you are doing a good job. This is where character is formed. This is where faith becomes real. This is where you learn to trust God without needing immediate evidence. And when you finally reach the season you have been praying for, you will carry something into it that you could never have received without the waiting: wisdom, discernment, patience, self-respect, peace, and a deeper understanding of what love truly means. So, chosen one, do not despise your single season. Honor it. Learn from it. Use it. Let it strengthen you instead of breaking you. Let it teach you instead of making you bitter. Let it prepare you instead of making you desperate. Because there is a future version of you who will be grateful that you did not settle. There is a future version of you who will look back and realize that the waiting was not punishment. It was preparation. And perhaps, when the right season finally arrives, you will no longer ask, "Why did God keep me waiting?" You will simply whisper, "No, I understand. We're chosen one." And that understanding will change the way you look at everything that happened before this moment. You will stop calling every closed door a tragedy. You will stop assuming every ending was a punishment. You will stop believing that every person who walked away took something from you. Sometimes people leave and make room. Sometimes relationships end and create space for healing. Sometimes the silence that follows an ending becomes the very environment where your identity is rebuilt. And there are things you could never have discovered about yourself if you had remained attached to what God was asking you to release. You may have thought that you needed another person to make you feel secure, but God was teaching you how to become secure within yourself. You may have thought you needed constant reassurance, but God was teaching you how to stand when nobody was clapping for you. You may have thought you needed someone to tell you that you were beautiful, valuable, talented, worthy, and enough, but God was taking you into a season where you had to learn those truths without depending on another human being to repeat them. That lesson was not easy. There were nights when you questioned everything. There were mornings when you woke up wondering whether your life would ever change. There were moments when you saw someone from your past move forward, and you wondered why they seemed to receive everything you had been praying for. You may have looked at their pictures and wondered whether you were the problem. You may have wondered whether you waited too long. You may have wondered whether something was wrong with you. But chosen one, never allow somebody else's highlight reel to become evidence against your own life. You do not know what happens behind the picture. You do not know what happens behind the smile. You do not know what happens behind the announcement. And even if someone else's relationship is genuinely beautiful, that does not mean your life is lacking. Their blessing is not proof that you have been denied. Their timing is not your timing. Their path is not your path. God does not run out of blessings because someone else received theirs first. There is no shortage of purpose. There is no shortage of love. There is no shortage of opportunities. There is no shortage of possibilities. And you do not have to compete with another person's timeline. Chosen one of the greatest traps during a waiting season is comparison. Comparison can make you despise things you once prayed for simply because someone else received them before you. It can make you rush into relationships that you are not prepared for. It can make you overlook red flags because you are desperate to catch up with people who are not even running your race. But your race is your race. Your assignment is your assignment. Your journey is your journey. You cannot run somebody else's course and expect to arrive at your destination. Maybe you are not late. Maybe you are being prepared differently. Maybe you needed more time. Maybe the person you are becoming requires a longer preparation period because the responsibility attached to your future is greater than you currently understand. Think about that. What if the delay is connected to the weight of what is coming? What if God is not withholding something from you, but preparing you to carry it? Because receiving something and sustaining something are two different things. You can receive a relationship before you are emotionally ready for it. You can receive an opportunity before you have developed the wisdom to handle it. You can receive attention before you have learned how to distinguish attention from genuine love. And sometimes receiving too early can cause you to lose what you were not prepared to protect. That is why preparation matters. Chosen one, perhaps God has been strengthening your emotional foundation because your next relationship cannot be built on the same foundation as your previous ones. You cannot carry old wounds into new love and expect new love to heal everything automatically. You cannot expect another person to become responsible for wounds they did not create. You cannot expect someone new to constantly prove that they are not like someone from your past. At some point, healing requires you to say, "That happened then, but this is now." That does not mean ignoring warning signs. It means learning the difference between discernment and fear. Fear says, "Everyone will hurt me." Discernment says, "I will pay attention to how this person behaves." A fear says, "I cannot trust anybody." Discernment says, "Trust will be built through consistency." A fear says, "If I love, I will lose." Discernment says, "I can love while maintaining wisdom and boundaries." That is maturity. And perhaps God has been bringing you into that maturity. Chosen one, you are learning that love should not cost you your identity. You can love somebody and still have boundaries. You can care deeply and still say no. You can forgive and still choose distance. You can understand somebody's pain without allowing their pain to become your permanent burden. You can have compassion without accepting disrespect. You can be patient without tolerating manipulation. You can be loving without becoming desperate. And that balance will be essential when the next chapter of your life begins. Because your future relationship will not only test how much you can love, it will test how well you know yourself. It will reveal whether you can communicate. It will reveal whether you can apologize. It will reveal whether you can listen. It will reveal whether you can disagree without destroying each other. It will reveal whether you can maintain your individuality while building partnership. And perhaps your season of singleness has been teaching you all of those things before another person arrives. You have had to learn how to communicate with yourself. You have had to listen to your own needs. You have had to recognize your own triggers. You have had to confront your own habits. You have had to take responsibility for your own decisions. You have had to stop blaming every failed relationship on the other person. Because growth means being honest enough to ask, what was my part? Maybe you stayed too long. Maybe you ignored signs. Maybe you gave too much too quickly. Maybe you accepted less than you deserved. Maybe you did not communicate clearly. Maybe you were afraid of abandonment. Maybe you tried to control outcomes. Maybe you expected somebody to read your mind. Maybe you confused intensity with intimacy. Whatever the lesson was, learn it. Do not waste pain. If something hurt you, let it teach you. If something ended, let it refine you. If someone betrayed you, let it make you wiser without making you bitter. Because bitterness can become another prison. You can leave the relationship physically and still remain emotionally attached through anger. You can stop speaking to someone and still allow them to control your peace through resentment. But chosen one, freedom means their actions no longer control your inner world. You can remember what happened without living there. You can acknowledge what they did without allowing it to define who you become. You can say, that chapter hurt me, but it did not destroy me. And then you keep moving, keep becoming, keep trusting, keep building. There is something powerful about a person who has been hurt but refuses to become cruel. There is something powerful about a person who has been disappointed but refuses to stop believing in goodness. There is something powerful about a person who has been alone but refuses to settle simply to escape loneliness. That is the person God can trust with something deeper. Chosen one, your future relationship should meet you at the level of your growth, not the level of your desperation. That is why you must stop trying to make something happen just because you are tired of waiting. You do not need to manufacture a miracle. You do not need to force a connection. You do not need to convince someone that you are worthy of love. You do not need to chase somebody who is uncertain about you. You do not need to decode mixed signals. You do not need to beg for clarity. You do not need to compete for a place in someone's life. The relationship that is healthy for you should not require you to constantly fight for basic consideration. Chosen one, you have spent enough time proving yourself. Now learn to observe, watch, listen, pay attention. Let people reveal themselves. Do not rush to fill every silence. Do not rush to explain away every inconsistency. Do not rush to make excuses for behavior that concerns you. Give time the opportunity to reveal character. Anybody can be impressive for a week. Anybody can be charming for a month. Anybody can say beautiful things in the beginning. But consistency has a longer memory. Time reveals what excitement hides. Time reveals whether someone is serious. Time reveals whether words become actions. Time reveals whether affection becomes commitment. Time reveals whether promises become patterns. And you do not need to be afraid of time. If something is genuine, healthy time will strengthen it. If something is false, healthy time will expose it. Either way, you win through wisdom. Chosen one, maybe that is another reason God has kept you waiting. He is teaching you not to be impressed by beginnings. You used to focus on how someone made you feel at the start. Now you are learning to pay attention to how they behave after the excitement fades. You used to listen to promises. Now you watch patterns. You used to chase potential. Now you value reality. You used to ask, could this person become what I need? Now you ask, who is this person right now? That question can save you years. Because potential is not character. Potential is not commitment. Potential is not compatibility. You cannot build a healthy relationship with who somebody might become while ignoring who they consistently choose to be today. And chosen one, the same standard applies to you. Do not ask somebody to love the version of you that refuses to grow. You must continue becoming. You must continue healing. You must continue learning. You must continue examining your heart. Not because you have to become perfect before you deserve love. You do not. But because healthy relationships require healthy responsibility. Two imperfect people can build something beautiful when they are both willing to grow. But two people who refuse accountability can turn love into a battlefield. So let this season make you accountable. Let it show you where you need to mature. Maybe you need to learn patience. Maybe you need to learn communication. Maybe you need to stop people-pleasing. Maybe you need to stop overgiving. Maybe you need to learn financial discipline. Maybe you need to stop allowing fear to make your decisions. Maybe you need to build a life that does not collapse when someone walks away. Whatever the lesson is, embrace it, because every area of growth increases your capacity for what comes next. Chosen one, there is also something else you need to understand. Being single can expose the places where you have been looking for validation. When nobody is there to constantly tell you that you are attractive, you have to learn to appreciate yourself. When nobody is texting you good morning, you have to learn to create meaningful mornings. When nobody is planning dates, you have to learn how to enjoy your own life. When nobody is celebrating your small victories, you have to learn how to celebrate yourself. That is not sadness. That is independence. And independence does not mean you do not need people. It means you do not abandon yourself simply because somebody else is absent. You can desire companionship without becoming dependent on it for your identity. That is powerful. And when you reach that place, you become much harder to manipulate. Because manipulation often works through fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of being rejected. Fear of starting over. Fear of losing someone. But when you know that you can survive alone, you become free to choose relationships based on wisdom rather than fear. You can say no, you can walk away, you can wait, you can take your time. And that is exactly the kind of freedom that creates healthier love. Chosen one. Perhaps the reason your season has lasted so long is because God wanted you to stop asking, "Who will choose me?" and start asking, "Who deserves access to me?" That is a completely different question. The first question puts your worth in someone else's hands. The second question recognizes that your life has value and that access should come with responsibility, not arrogance, not superiority. Responsibility. You should care about who you allow close to your heart because proximity creates influence. The people closest to you can affect your thoughts. They can affect your confidence. They can affect your habits. They can affect your relationship with God. They can affect your vision. They can affect your peace. So choosing a partner is not a small decision. It is not simply about finding someone attractive. It is about choosing someone whose presence will influence the environment of your life. And that is why discernment matters. Chosen one, never let loneliness convince you that compatibility does not matter. It matters. Values matter. Character matters. Emotional maturity matters. Faith matters to you if faith is central to your life. Communication matters. Responsibility matters. Kindness matters. How someone handles conflict matters. How someone treats people who cannot give them anything matters. How someone responds when they do not get what they want matters. Because anyone can be kind when everything is going their way. Character becomes visible when circumstances become difficult. And perhaps God has been teaching you to look beyond the surface. Maybe you have been attracted to the wrong things. Maybe you have been choosing based on appearance, chemistry, status, or excitement. But now your eyes are opening. Now you are learning to value peace. Now you are learning to value consistency. Now you are learning to value someone who keeps their word. Now you are learning that emotional safety can be more attractive than emotional intensity. That is growth. And when you grow, your taste changes. What once fascinated you may no longer impress you. What once felt exciting may now feel exhausting. What once looked romantic may now look unhealthy. That is how you know you have changed. You no longer desire what once destroyed you. Chosen one, there may come a day when someone from your past tries to return, and you will have to decide whether nostalgia is enough reason to reopen a door. Be careful. History is not automatically destiny. Familiarity is not automatically safety. Missing someone is not automatically a sign that you should go back. Sometimes you miss a person because they were familiar. Sometimes you miss the memories. Sometimes you miss who you were when you were with them. Sometimes you miss the hope you had for what the relationship could become. But missing something does not mean it belongs in your future. You can appreciate the good memories and still know the relationship is finished. You can forgive someone and still refuse to return. You can love someone from a distance, and you can bless someone without giving them access again. That is maturity. Chosen one, your future deserves protection. Do not keep reopening doors simply because you feel lonely. Do not keep returning to places God brought you out of. Do not keep asking old relationships to give you the closure that only healing can provide. Sometimes closure is not an apology. Sometimes closure is acceptance. Sometimes closure is realizing that you will never receive the explanation you wanted. Sometimes closure is deciding that you do not need one more conversation. You already know enough. You know how you felt. You know what happened. You know what you tolerated. You know what it cost you. And you know what you will not repeat. That can be enough. Chosen one, there is a version of you who no longer needs to be chosen by everyone. That version understands that rejection can be redirection. That version understands that being misunderstood does not mean being wrong. That version understands that not everyone will recognize your value, and that is okay. Not everyone is supposed to. A diamond does not become less valuable because someone does not know how to recognize it. Your worth does not fluctuate according to someone's ability to appreciate it. You do not need universal approval. You need alignment. And alignment means some people will leave. Some people will misunderstand you. Some people will not like your boundaries. Some people will become uncomfortable when you stop being available for manipulation. Let them. You are not responsible for maintaining everyone's access to you. You are responsible for stewarding your life wisely. Chosen one, sometimes growth makes your circle smaller before it makes your life fuller. You may lose people. You may become less interested in shallow conversations. You may stop entertaining connections that have no direction. You may discover that certain environments no longer fit who you are becoming. That can feel lonely. But do not confuse loneliness with being lost. Sometimes loneliness is simply the space between old relationships and new relationships. You are no longer who you used to be, but you have not yet met all the people who will connect with who you are becoming. That middle place can feel strange. It can feel empty, but it is temporary. Keep walking. The emptiness is not necessarily the final destination. It may simply be a hallway. And hallways exist to take you from one room to another. Chosen one, you have been walking through a hallway. You have left certain rooms. You have closed certain doors. You have outgrown certain environments, and now you are standing between what was and what will be. Do not panic because you cannot see the next room yet. Keep walking. There is more ahead, and perhaps the person you are waiting for is not the only thing ahead. There are opportunities. There are friendships. There are lessons. There are places. There are experiences. There are dreams. There are versions of yourself you have not met yet. Your future is larger than romance. Never forget that. Your life is bigger than marriage. Your purpose is bigger than relationship status. Your calling is bigger than whether somebody texts you good night. And when you understand that, your desire for love becomes healthier. You still want companionship. You still desire intimacy. You still hope for partnership. But you no longer worship the idea of it. You no longer make it the condition for your happiness. You no longer say, I cannot be fulfilled until someone comes. Instead, you say, God, let me live fully now, and if partnership is part of my path, let it come in the right way and at the right time. That prayer carries peace. Chosen one, perhaps your next relationship will be different because you are different. You will communicate differently. You will listen differently. You will choose differently. You will leave differently. You will love differently. You will not be trying to prove that you are worthy. You will simply be present. You will not be terrified of losing someone, because you know you will not lose yourself. You will not chase reassurance every hour because you understand that healthy love has consistency. You will not interpret every quiet moment as rejection. You will not demand perfection. You will not accept disrespect. You will understand that love is a daily choice, not merely a powerful feeling, and that kind of love is worth waiting for. So while you wait, become the kind of person who can participate in that love. Become patient, become honest, become disciplined, become emotionally aware, become spiritually grounded. Become financially responsible. Become comfortable communicating difficult truths. Become comfortable hearing difficult truths. Learn to apologize without making excuses. Learn to forgive without forgetting wisdom. Learn to disagree without becoming enemies. Learn to love without losing yourself. Because one day, someone may meet you and experience the fruit of all the work you are doing in private right now. They may never know how many nights you cried. They may never know how many times you almost settled. They may never know how difficult it was to walk away. They may simply meet the healed version of you and wonder how you became so strong. But you will know. You will know the road. You will know the waiting. You will know the prayers. You will know the disappointments. You will know the nights when you had to encourage yourself. And that knowledge will make you grateful. Grateful that you did not give up. Grateful that you did not settle. Grateful that you kept your heart open. Grateful that you kept growing. Grateful that you kept trusting. Chosen one. Do not let the absence of a relationship become evidence that something is wrong with your life. There is nothing shameful about being single. There is nothing embarrassing about waiting. There is nothing defective about not having the same timeline as everyone else. Your life does not need to be explained to people who are not responsible for living it. Let them ask. Let them wonder. Let them make assumptions. You do not need to defend your season. You do not need to rush into a relationship just to silence questions. You do not need to marry simply because everyone around you thinks you should. You do not need to prove that you are desirable. You need to live according to your values and walk wisely. Because the worst thing would be to enter a relationship for the sake of avoiding questions and then spend years asking yourself why you ignored your own wisdom. Do not do that. Let people talk. You keep growing. You keep praying. You keep becoming. And chosen one, remember that the right relationship is not simply about being loved. It is about being loved in a way that supports the person you are becoming. You need someone who can celebrate your growth without competing with it. Someone who can respect your calling without feeling threatened by it. Someone who can communicate without manipulating. Someone who can disagree without humiliating. Someone who can support without controlling. Someone who can love without possessing. Someone who can commit without constantly making you question where you stand. And you must become that person too, because you cannot demand from someone what you refuse to give. If you want honesty, practice honesty. If you want patience, practice patience. If you want communication, practice communication. If you want forgiveness, practice forgiveness. If you want emotional safety, become emotionally responsible. This is preparation, and preparation is not glamorous. Nobody applauds you for working on yourself at 2 in the morning. Nobody gives you an award for choosing peace. Nobody sees every temptation you resisted. Nobody sees every boundary you maintained, but God sees the work. And whether you believe every detail of your future is already written or not, one truth remains: the choices you make now shape the person who enters your future. So choose wisely, choose growth, choose integrity, choose peace, choose patience, choose wisdom, choose healthy relationships, choose people who challenge you to become better without making you feel worthless. Choose environments where your values can survive. Choose friendships that do not require you to shrink. Choose love that does not demand self-betrayal. Chosen one, your time is not something you need to force. There is a season for preparation. There is a season for planting. There is a season for growth. And there is a season when what has been developing privately begins to become visible. You cannot skip every season and still expect the same harvest. The seed needs darkness. The roots need time. The tree needs weather. The branches need strength. And eventually fruit comes. So if you are in the root season, stop being jealous of the fruit season. Your roots are working. Your character is working. Your wisdom is working. Your healing is working. Your faith is working. Your life is moving even when the movement is invisible. And one day, you may realize that what looked like nothing was actually everything. Every quiet morning, every lonely evening, every decision to wait, every time you chose yourself, every time you said no, every time you refused to return, every time you prayed instead of reacting, every time you trusted instead of forcing, all of it was shaping you. Chosen one, keep going. Do not let one disappointing chapter convince you that the entire story is disappointing. Do not let one failed relationship convince you that love is impossible. Do not let one betrayal convince you that everybody is untrustworthy. Do not let one delay convince you that nothing good is coming. You have not seen everything yet. There is more growth, more life, more connection, more purpose, more opportunity. And perhaps one day, when you are sitting in a peaceful place with someone who genuinely respects you, you will remember the season when you were convinced that nothing would ever change. And you will realize that change was happening all along. It just was not happening according to your schedule. That is the lesson. Not everything meaningful happens quickly. Not everything delayed is denied. Not everything lost was meant to remain. Not everyone who arrives is meant to stay. And not everyone who leaves is taking your future with them. Your future is still yours to live. Your heart is still capable of love. Your life is still capable of beauty. Your purpose is still alive. And the fact that you have waited does not mean you have waited in vain. Chosen one, there is still work to do in you, around you, and perhaps beyond what you can currently see. There are conversations you have not had, lessons you have not learned, doors you have not approached, and decisions you have not yet been asked to make. So do not become so focused on the person you hope will arrive that you fail to notice the person you are becoming right now. Keep your attention on the work in front of you. Keep your heart open without making it careless. Keep your standards without making them walls. Keep your faith without turning it into a demand for a specific timeline. Keep walking, because sometimes the greatest evidence that your season is changing is not that someone has arrived yet, but that you are no longer the same person who used to settle for whoever came.